Welcome back, grifters and grafters, gamers and bull tamers. Today we're talking about the Cocaine Intelligence Agency. Two of them died in Mexico the other day, uh, and the Mexican government was not aware of this. Or at least uh, the federal or national Mexican government, whatever word they use to describe the that, was not aware of this, but they were operating with the Chihuahua state apparently, uh, and this happened like at some like this car crash. They both died in a car crash, as you can see. Was in relation to drug cartel raid or something. Now, if you want to be a conspiracy theorist about it, you could say, well, we don't know the details of like what the raid was. uh or uh what side of this drug operation the CIA agents were working on or for. Because as we know, the CIA has a long history of, you know, starting up drug operations overseas, like in Afghanistan, where we had the CIA propping up drug lords and pedophile trafficking lords in Afghanistan, which is why people were fighting back against it. Uh, and they took the side of the Taliban over the U.S. government, obviously, because, if you're just going to make Afghanistan the number one heroin factory in the world, the locals might not take kindly to a foreign army protecting that factory. Um, yeah, anyway, we had U.S. troops protecting poppy fields and stuff. Uh, don't rely on this AI. I mean, and if you want a decent source where you don't have to do thick reading, go to this show. They've got 6 seasons. Okay. I don't know. The Afghanistan season's like season 4, I think. Anyway, let's get back to the story. Yeah. Did I do this where I read through the article? Yeah, I guess so. Anyway, that's probably the better way to go about it. To prove I can read, right? I don't know. Okay. The Mexican government says 2 U.S. agents who died last weekend in a car crash had not been authorized to operate in the country. I feel like, you know, enough said there already, you know? Because if these CIA agents were up to doing good things for the Mexican government and its people, like, they probably would have notified Claudia Scheinbaum, right? I guess you think Claudia Scheinbaum is like a tyrant, a ruthless, lying tyrant. I don't think anybody could really make that argument about her, though. Anyway, or it would have been known to at least like someone in the Scheinbaum administration, right? The officials who reportedly worked for the CIA had taken part in a raid on suspected drug labs in the northern state of Chihuahua before their vehicle skidded off a mountain road and exploded. So they got ambushed, maybe? Maybe it was a drug deal gone bad. Maybe it was the Mexican government ambushing a drug cartel that just so happened to have CIA officers working in alongside them, and they discovered their identities after the fact. Could be. Maybe the CIA officers were ambushed by the drug cartel. I don't know. Oof. You gotta keep all these possibilities in your mind because there's just not many details on like what the actual truth of what happened here was. Try to think about why this might have happened. Like what could have caused such a unfortunate mishap that involved, you know, CIA agents that were secretly operating in Mexico. There are some shows that I think help open the imagination to what it could look like. Why, this one, pretty good. I'd check it out. Maybe to get a better visual representation of what these kinds of ops might look like. I don't know. Obviously, it's just fiction, but there is a motive to these things. Okay. And that show explains the motives pretty well, I think. Okay. She has been. Wait. Scheinbaum has come under intensifying pressure from U.S. President Donald Trump to crack down on drug trafficking, but has repeatedly declined offers of U.S. led counter narcotics operations in the country. Scheinbaum is the drug dealer. That's it. Even though the drug cartels go to war with the Mexican government like every other month, you know. Yeah. Even though the drug cartels do like ambush, it's like that's such a ridiculous narrative, I think, unless like I have the wool fully pulled over my eyes and I don't know. Trump is the good guy here somehow. Yeah, right. Okay. You know, um, Trump is in the right, obviously. When he accuses the anybody else of doing something bad, obviously that's real. 100% of the time. Just like when, the US government accused Hugo Chavez of operating a drug cartel called Cartel de las Soles. Uh, and, that was admitted by the State Department at the beginning of this year that it was completely made up. Anyway, you can read that article on the New York Times there. Justice Department drops claims that Cartel de las Soles was operating as an actual group. So, there's a history of the CIA, U.S. State Department just fabricating, you know, accusations of wrongdoing against Latin American leaders and governments that aren't pliant to U.S. state interests. So you should keep that in mind. Anyway, I'm sure most of the people watching my videos already know this stuff, probably. I don't know. I hope. The Scheinbaum has come under intensifying pressure from Adaman that foreign officials can only operate on Mexican soil if given prior clearance by the federal government, and has insisted the Latin American nation's sovereignty should not be breached. Mexico's security ministry said on Saturday that the immigration records showed one of the agents had entered the country as a visitor, even though he was a CIA agent, obviously sent out to do a task or a mission. Probably. While the other had traveled on a diplomatic passport. Neither had formal accreditation to participate in operational activities within national territory, the ministry had said in a statement, noting that Mexican law prohibits foreign agents from taking part in operations without federal approval. U.S. media previously reported that the two individuals who have not been named had worked for the CIA as part of an expanded effort to combat narcotics trafficking in the region, a key focus of the Trump administration. Yeah, but if they actually wanted to combat narcotics, they'd just legalize the narcotics industry and provide like safe injection sites and actual rehabilitation centers for drug addicts. It's what worked in Afghanistan twice now. The Taliban has done this kind of thing. Getting the heroin addicts help. It's worked in China after the Chinese Revolution. The communists went around and fixed up the opium addicts through their rehabilitation. It's just, either the U.S. government is so brain dead, it has, is so brain dead in its policy operations, or it's just evil. I don't know. You decide. You decide. Is it stupid? Is it stupidity? Is it stupidity or evil that we don't do that kind of thing for our country, men? Okay. U.S. media previously reported that the two individuals who have not been named had worked for the CIA as part of an expanded effort to combat narcotics. Oh, I just read that. The crash occurred on 19 April when a convoy returning from an operation targeting suspected methamphetamine labs in a remote mountainous area veered off the road and plunged into a ravine. 2 members of the Chihuahua State Investigation Agency were also killed, officials said. Chihuahua State Attorney General Cesar Yarregui told a news conference that the U.S. officials were instructor officers from the U.S. Embassy engaged in training work as a part of the general and normal exchange we have with U.S. authorities. However, Scheinbaum said last week that while intelligence sharing with Washington was ongoing, there were no joint operations on land or in the air. Reuters found last September, a Reuters investigation found the CIA had been running covert operations in Mexico for years to track down the country's most wanted drug traffickers. Are you sure they're not supplying these drug traffickers? We're doing a little bit of both so you can have some plausible deniability when, unannounced CIA officers working for a provincial government or working in collaboration with a provincial government that may or may not be corrupt. You know, gets found out. I don't know. Last September, Reuters, with the Mexican government's approval, the CIA has provided select Mexican units with training equipment and financial support for operations, including travel, according to Reuters. Sheinbaum has repeatedly said that her government would work with Washington on security issues while resisting U.S. threats to put boots on the ground. Her government has recently pursued an aggressive crackdown on drug trafficking to assuage Trump, who has also repeatedly criticized Mexico for undocumented migration across the two's shared border. Okay, and there's Chihuahua on the border of Texas and New Mexico. You know, isn't this area, like this Texas New Mexico border area, where Breaking Bad uh, where the plot of Breaking Bad was happening? Anyway, that's all more in relation to this grander narrative, I think, about the US, prepping up to potentially invade and annex Mexico or invade and occupy Mexico. So, for what ends? Natural resources, labor. A lot of US cars are made in Mexico. Um, what else? There's more there's like a lot more there I don't know the details of the manufacturing, but I know we did send a decent chunk, maybe more than a decent chunk of car manufacturing jobs into Mexico for the capitalists did that for cheaper labor. And we also got Marjorie Taylor Greene, of course, back in 2023, introducing this resolution to go to war in Mexico with the drug cartels. War on terrorism, war on drugs, we just gotta invade and occupy and bomb things to fix this stuff, right? That's how you do it. That's how you that's how you solve these problems with terrorism and drugs. You invade, occupy, and bomb. Duh. Duh. Especially if you're the player that has all the power and the largest military in the world that also controls the global economic levers with the petrodollar system. You obviously have to invade and occupy. There any more details among this? Oh, Mexico's government keeps contradicting itself? How so? Mexican authorities on Wednesday continued to muddle the official account over the role of two CIA agents in a counter-narcotics operation in northern Mexico, and to the extent to which Mexico's federal government was aware of the U.S. involvement in the incident, which has started to ignite tensions with the White House. The incident has increasingly fueled speculation in the Latin American nation as Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, for more than a year, has repeatedly underscored her country's sovereignty and publicly turned down offers by U.S. President Donald Trump of intervention on cartels. Okay, what do you get? Where's the part? She had no knowledge. Is there anything? Yeah. Just Caroline Leavitt bullshitting here about how they're there to help Claudia. Totally. The Trump administration has provided very few comments on the incident. CIA declined to comment on Wednesday. Only continued on Wednesday when Army participated in the operation, but didn't know that the U.S. agents were present. Okay, so the Mexican Army participated in the operation, but didn't know. Okay, didn't know these agents were there. Dude, okay, what? Yeah, okay, goddamn clickbait title. Goddamn clickbait, just propaganda headline, straight up. That's not her contradicting herself unless you can prove that she was lying. You know, like, it's totally plausible that, like, she's the president of Mexico, you know, why would every detail of one operation be within her scope of vision, you know? Maybe the agents just flew under the radar. Like, that's, you found one quote where it's like, uh-huh, but the Mexican army was in on this raid, so therefore, these CIA agents who were discovered in the aftermath of this raid, in a car crash, like, what if they were the targets of the raid? You know, that detail we still don't really know. We just know they were found in a car with like some Chihuahua provincial police, right? And they still came in, the details are still true. BBC reported that they came in without visas, like with visas that would put them under the radar of the Mexican government as foreign operatives. Anyway, yeah. So there's another fire blazing on the southern border to look out for, I guess. And the media is doing a shit job of covering it, as always. And I need to get better at this so I can take their jobs. I'm coming for your jobs, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, YouTubers, gamers, Like and hit that like button. Yeah, and subscribe, please. Get my numbers up, boost me in the algo. Okay, I gotta go to work. Bye.